All right, everyone. Welcome back to week number 10 update show for the Family Beatdown Fantasy Football League. Have missed the past couple of weeks, been busy and lost track of time, and the dog ate my homework, and too lazy and not motivated, and what else? I stubbed my toe on the way into work, and all kinds of excuses. But whatever excuse it is, we're back, and let's get right to it. So, the big news since we've last talked is the college football bowl rankings are starting to come out. The playoff rankings are coming out, and even though Notre Dame debuted at number 5, they have since moved into the number 4 position. So right now, Notre Dame, Clemson, who is it? Notre Dame, Clemson, Alabama, and Ohio State are your top 4, and Notre Dame would take on Clemson, I think. 4 would take a 1 on again, so they get the rematch up against Clemson, the only team they've lost against so far this year. Notre Dame last week had Wake Forest. They were a pretty one-sided game there, 28-7 in favor of the Fighting Irish. They take on Boston College this week. That game is on Saturday on NBC Sports Network, Boston College, and then they'll take on number 11 Stanford in the final game of the season, and that game is coming up on the 28th of November. So that's going to be a big matchup for the Fighting Irish. USC, on the other hand, has pulled off 4 straight W's. They had to come from behind this past Friday night against Colorado, but they were able to do it, 27-24. They take on number 23 Oregon next week. Oregon cracks into the top 25 with a big upset win last week against the aforementioned Stanford Cardinal. So Oregon, who got no love all year long and has been bounced out of the rankings, now coming in at number 23, they take on the Trojans this week. Let's take a look at our league. So, smell this. Bested People of Color 116-67. Ryan is just not playing this year. I don't know what the problem is with that boy. Gerard Invincibles pulls back into playoff contentions with a 134-67 win over Basic White Chicks. That's a 5-5 team beating an 8-2 team. Grandpa giving Alex only his second loss of the year. Alex is a little bit distracted, sitting up in a tree all weekend last weekend. Blood, Sweat, and Beer. Dani moves to 7-3 with a 129-97 win over her mom. The Rednecks, Big Blue is at 6-4. They won 26-82 winners over Third Down for What. Back That Pass Up gets a rare win this season. Moves to 2 wins for the year. Back That Pass Up, 93-49 over Blue and Gold. Somebody else, Jacob, was distracted this week, sitting up in a deer stand all weekend long. Put up 49 points. Way to go, boys. And then in our game of the week, Swamp Donkeys, 147-127 win over Moist Men of the Mountain. Those are your 2 division-leading teams, both now moved to 8-2, with Rick taking the win. Let's take a look at the playoffs real quick. Now, this is week 10. We're going into week 11. We've got 2 more weeks. We've got 2 more weeks in order to in the regular season here. So everybody, the top couple of positions are in good shape, but positions 5, 6, and 7 all have a shot making the playoffs, and Blue and Gold outside at 4 and 6. But at any rate, in the Cardinal division, Basic White Chicks sit atop 8-2. They're tied with Moist Men of the Mountain, also at 8-2, but get the lead because of the head-to-head matchup. Actually, Tyson is leading points for by a sizable margin over Alex, but gets the number 3 spot. So Moist Men of the Mountain now sitting number 3. They're second in the Cardinal division, and third in the Cardinal division is Blood, Sweat, and Beer, who is our 4th-rated team going into the playoffs. Smell This is the 4th-rated team in the standings, but doesn't have much of a chance at all making the playoffs this year. In the Gold division, Swamp Donkeys, 8-2 winners this past week over Moist Men of the Mountain. Swamp Donkeys is overall number 1 seed. Big Blue sitting good at 6-4, so Veronica looks like she's going to make the playoffs, although Grandpa at 5-5 is the number 6 position, and the Rednecks also at 5-5 are sitting number 7, outside looking in on the playoffs, but could make a strike. So every win is important from here on out, and keep in mind we only have 2 left. Let's take a look at our matchups for this week. Smell This gets the good draw I might even put 2 wins back-to-back. Who knew? Smell this over, back that pass up. This week I've got Aaron Rodgers going against Minnesota. That's a key matchup. Green Bay has dropped 3 in a row. Unbelievable. And getting the matchup now against Minnesota, who sits in the driver's seat in the NFC North. Unconscionable. Demaryius Thomas against the Chicago Bears. That's a good matchup. Hearns is against Tennessee. I need to take care of Isaiah Crowell. And Ashlon Jeffrey also gets a matchup against Denver. Speaking of Denver, did you see who else but Peyton Manning can set a new NFL passing record and get benched in the same game? Tisk, tisk, how the mighty have fallen. For back that pass up, Russell Wilson has San Francisco. They're falling apart at the seams. T.Y. Hilton against Atlanta. Anderson against Chicago. And LeGarrette Blount against Buffalo. A couple of people on bye, a kicker and a tight end on bye there, Rebecca. So you may want to take a look at that. Either way, I'm going to give the win to, smell this. Talking about playoff-bound Girard Invincibles now facing Swamp Donkeys. This is a key matchup for Grandpa, and Rick needs to win in order to hold on to his number 1 position. Grandpa has Matt Stafford. You may want to keep an eye on Matt Stafford. They're talking about benching him. All kinds of trouble up there in Detroit, in the Motor City. Grandpa has Vernon Jackson, who's listed as questionable, but Adrian Peterson gets a matchup against Green Bay. He's projected to go big. And Justin Forsett is against St. Louis, and he will go big. For Swamp Donkeys, he's starting David Carr. Rick is always moving around there at the quarterback position. Des Bryant has a matchup against Miami. Michael Crabtree against Detroit. And Todd Gurley, who's exploding on the scene this back half of the year, is set to go against Baltimore. Rick, too, has a running back and a tight end on bye. Needs to make the adjustment. I'm going to give my mojo to Grandpa for another back-to-back win and solidifying his playoff berth. Taking a look now at Moist Men of the Mountain versus Blood, Sweat, and Beer. This is a key matchup of two high-powered teams, 8-2 for Moist Men of the Mountain, 7-3 against for Blood, Sweat, and Beer. For Dani, she has Tom Brady against Buffalo. Ruben Randall's on bye, so you want to take a look at him. But DeAndre Hopkins against the New York Jets. Key matchup there. Jets are a tough defense. I mean, that's the one side of that football team that's doing well. That defense for the Jets is tough, so that's going to be a tough matchup. Hopkins is projected to go 20. For Moist Men of the Mountain, Andy Dalton, he gets Arizona. Odell Beckham is on bye. Might want to take that one. Check that one, Tyson. And the Gronk gets Buffalo. Right now, it's projected to be 128 to 134 over Moist Men of the Mountain. I'm going to give the nod to Blood, Sweat, and Beer. Taking a look now at People of Color at 6-4 versus, or excuse me, People of Color at 1-9 versus Big Blue, who's at 6-4. Veronica's got holes all up and down her lineup. She's got one spot that's completely open, and Antonio Brown is on bye this week. Projected to do 117 nonetheless. For Ryan, he's projected to do 113. He's got Blake Bortles at quarterback. Pierre Garçon against Carolina. Carolina's still undefeated, aren't they? Or did they lose? I think they're still undefeated. Other key matchups, Carlos Hyde is listed as questionable against Seattle. I think there's just too much going for Veronica, and I don't think Ryan is paying attention. Let's talk now about the basic white chicks versus third down for what? Alex put up only 67 points against Grandpa last week and is only projected to do 78 this week. What's up, Alex? Peyton Manning is out. Going to want to make that change. He got negative points last week for some fantasy owners. Mike Wallace goes against Green Bay. Ivory against Houston for Alex. For Jed, Cam Newton against Washington. It's going to be a big win for, I think, a big win for the Panthers. And he's got Randall Cobb against Minnesota, Marshawn Lynch against San Francisco. All of that said, I'm going to give the pick to third down for what? Even though Alex isn't going hunting this weekend, I don't think you are. But I don't think Alex is going to be able to cover for Peyton Manning. And in our final game, the Rednecks at 5-5 versus Blue and Gold at 4-6. Both of these teams need a win in order to stay playoff eligible. Jake is in a little bit worse position than is Dawn. But Dawn has got Drew Brees on bye. She's got Cook on bye. She's got Mark Ingram on bye. So just holes all up and down the lineup there. And Matt Forte is listed as questionable. Right now, it's projected that Dawn will put up 52.9 points, while Jacob puts up 79.6. For Jake, he's got Matt Ryan against Indianapolis. Julian Edelman, who is out. You're going to want to make that change there. He also has a bye on Ben Watson and Snead and the Pittsburgh defense on bye. Oh my goodness, you guys, come on. Let's get it. Let's go. Let's pick this up. I don't even want to have to. I'm not even going to pick a winner on this one. I'm not. I'm disgusted. Now you guys aren't paying attention. Oh well, that's how a cookie crumbles sometimes. Hope everybody has a good week. It's getting cold here in LA. It's 60 degrees today. Brr. So long, everyone. See you next week.